Dr. Cornelius Evazan is a human from Alsaken. At one time, he was a young surgeon who showed a lot of promise. He specialized in cosmetic surgeries and could have helped many people while making himself piles of credits. Evazan was born with something off. With no inciting incident to point to or blame, he descends into madness. His surgeries become the things of nightmares. He leaves his patients disfigured or worse. He had to go on the run before long, so the authorities sent bounty hunters after him, hoping to bring him in to answer for his crimes. Legend specifies the bounty hunter in question as Jodo Kast, a Mandalorian pretender who tries to mimic Boba Fett's appearance in order to charge more credits for his own bounty hunting. When one of these hunters, whether it's Kast or someone else, catches up to Evazan, he is attacked brutally. A thug called Ponda Baba saves his life, but he is left horribly scarred. Which is a fitting punishment, really. Evazan and Baba form a shaky partnership. Baba protects and Evazan pays. Evazan was definitely the brains of the operation. Though insane, he was quite smart. He took Baba's small-time side gig as a smuggler and amplified it so they could run spice for figures as well known in those circles as Jabba the Hutt. If drug running wasn't bad enough, they also turned to piracy and slaving. Nothing was off the table if it lined their pockets. All the while, Evazan would still perform what he called his creative surgeries on anyone that he could get his hands on. The two were never actually friends, or at least it didn't seem so. They stayed together because they could both profit more than if they ran solo. Baba nearly turned Evazan into the authorities to claim the bounty for himself, but decided that he would make more money in the long run with his partner. Their notoriety did grow. So much so that they got the opportunity to work for the major crime syndicate Crimson Dawn. Evazan worked as the personal physician to the leader, or apparent leader, Dryden Voss. Voss must have really trusted Evazan or thought that he would be too scared to make Voss one of his experiments. Part of Evazan's deal was a supply of patients that he could practice cybernetic surgeries on. These were not good surgeries. They were sadistic experiments done on living victims. All the while, Baba stood by as his assistant and helped in the torture and disfigurement. These experiments would lead to Evazan creating cyborg slaves that he calls Decraniated. These organic beings would be used as droids for whatever purposes Voss thought up. Evazan would raid battlefields and prey on the injured to add to the ranks of the Decraniated. The two had to leave Crimson Dawn's service when Voss was killed. Kira may have been working for a former Sith who seethed in the dark side, but even they didn't want anything to do with these two sadists. They continued to travel, kidnapping, mutilating, drug running, stealing, whatever paid. They'd adopt aliases, but those didn't hold up for long since they never stopped committing the crimes that they were known for. One very determined man of the law, Tam Posla on the planet Milvain, became obsessed with tracking these two down, and broke many rules of his career in pursuing them. We're going to get to more on Posla in just a minute. BBY-0 was obviously a major year for the galaxy. It's the primary epoch that we all talk about. If you're getting value or entertainment out of any of my transmissions, it would mean a lot if you would join the Remnant and subscribe. Evazan and Baba rubbed shoulders with major historic changes a couple of times this year. They stay on the move, running from their crimes, and head to the holy city of Jeddah. It may be called the Holy City, but Jeddah is not what it once was. It crawls with smugglers, refugees, freedom fighters, and remnants of many Force religions who don't seem to know how or where to move on to. It's here that these two dregs of the galaxy literally run into two freedom fighters who would directly affect the fate of that galaxy, Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. Posla follows the duo to Jeddah in a wake of their madness. He finds a man called Kason Bog who'd been mutilated nearly beyond recognition. His investigation almost gets him killed when the Empire demonstrates their new planet-killing weapon at 1/16th power to decimate the entire city and the entire area around it. Evazan and Baba were already on the move and survive as well as Posla. I think we all know where the pair go to next. They travel deeper into the Outer Rim to the desert planet Tatooine. They want to lay low and let some of the heat die down. They pass their time in Chalmun's Cantina in the city of Mos Eisley. A drunk and combative Baba sees a young moisture farmer. Many of the accounts from this day even thought that the fair-haired boy with his slight build was a woman at first. Baba decides to make sport of picking on him. Evazan joins in, egging his friend on. Friend for lack of a better word.
You don't even know me!
You know what? That's fair.
The young farmer, Luke Skywalker, does his best to defuse the situation. His companion, an old man in worn robes, does as well. Evazan and Baba aren't having it. They throw Luke to the ground. But then in a blur, the old man ignites a lightsaber, severs Baba's arm, and cuts Evazan across the midsection, forcing the two to run for their lives. The Mad Doctor tries to use his medical knowledge to reattach Baba's arm. Not only does he fail at that, he almost kills the closest thing he has to a friend in the process. This does nothing to help the uneasy agreement that the two had been existing under for so long. Legends takes things even further here. In Legends, Evazan attaches a crude cybernetic arm onto Baba and does a very sloppy job of it. Baba now splits from Evazan and vows to get revenge. Jumping back to canon, we're now in ABY-0. This sees law enforcement finally catch up to the duo, another sign that the pendulum of good and evil is swaying in the correct direction in the galaxy. They're sentenced to execution for their numerous crimes, but end up escaping with some inadvertent help from Maz Kanata. This should be clarified. Kanata wasn't a fan of the sociopaths. She needed them for their prison break plan. It seems every time the pair come close to paying for their crimes, instead of learning any sort of lesson, they would go on to double down on the madness. After this latest brush with incarceration, Evazan steps up his murders and mutilations. Baba is finally growing tired of the Doctor's ego and insanity. The only reason I can think of why Baba has hung on for this long is that he's afraid that Evazan will turn his scalpel on Baba if he tries to leave. Evazan finds a way to change his physical form and takes on yet another alias, Lapset Yas. This was not for a clean slate, but so that he could keep tricking his victims. He was incarcerated, again, under this alias. Being held on an Imperial prison barge, he meets Dr. Shelley Aphra. He's also still being hunted by Posla. He ups his torturous game and implants proximity explosives in Aphra and her murderous droid 000. If the two of them get too far apart, they'll both explode. He broadcasts the whole thing using 000's photoreceptors so that Baba can watch remotely. To up the ante, he hires bounty hunters to pursue the pair, forcing them to run to create situations where they might get split up. He claims that this— for 1 second. Today's video is sponsored by me. Imperial Remnant now has a merch store, and it's not just designed specific to the channel. I'm working with a couple talented artists to bring you unique Star Wars themed designs. Check out the link in the description. Alright, back to the lore. He claims that this is all an experiment to see if evil is innate or learned, but really, he's just a sadist. A pair of these bounty hunters track down Evazan as well as Aphra. They disable the explosives and end Evazan's sick game. This latest event was the last straw for Baba. He no longer wants anything to do with Evazan. And that is the last we know of their story in canon. Legends has things go differently in some truly bizarre ways. Their shaky friendship starts in nearly the same fashion, but things diverge after their encounter with Obi-Wan. After Baba gets that cheap prosthetic arm, and he leaves, he vows revenge. But the two actually reconcile later on. It's not expressly stated, but by now I have to assume that Evazan is a master manipulator, and Baba has no self-worth. Evazan's big goal in Legends is immortality. He's also more mad scientist than straight-up sociopath. He sets up labs under aliases and conducts experiments that he thinks will lead to immortality. A notable one from the fan-favorite novel Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, Dr. Death, Evazan is trying to transfer consciousness between bodies. He uses Baba as a test subject, trying to put the thug's mind into an Aquilish senator's body. A slew of things go wrong, of course, with more near-death experiences. Shockingly, Baba's mind is transferred successfully, though. Evazan actually does something right. Evazan then joins an Imperial project called Starscream that is focused on reanimating the dead. As twisted, macabre experiments are his speciality, he succeeds on a planet called Necropolis, which is a bit on the nose even for Star Wars. He makes a small army of what are essentially zombies, but they do have a bit of their living memories intact. He uses them to torment living captives, notably Zak Aranda, a Jedi of Luke Skywalker's New Jedi Order. Boba Fett has been pursuing Evazan and catches up to him. In a scene that I would love to see a version of in live action, Fett wipes out a horde of zombies and then shoots Evazan in the head. This far into the transmission, you can't be surprised that the story is still not done. Evazan had injected himself with the zombie-creating serum before Fett shoots him, and he reanimates himself as one of these zombies. This part of the story ends with one of the other zombies pouring an anti-serum on Evazan to reverse the effects of the serum, killing him. Though not solidified, there are rumors that even that wasn't the final death for Evazan. There's yet another legend that hints at the Mad Doctor having succeeded in cloning efforts, giving himself a fresh body with the consciousness transfer tech that he created. Baba, who went on living his life in the body of a senator, was still searching for Evazan to exact the revenge that he swore so many years before, and renewed with this latest weird experiment of his former partner. The stories between Canon and Legends vary wildly, but the character traits are essentially the same. Legends has a bit more fun with things in some sick ways, but it also makes for a much messier continuity where death doesn't seem to matter. One thing's for sure, Luke is very lucky that Obi-Wan was by his side that day, or he likely would have ended up on Evazan's operating table with Baba's dead black eyes looking on at the torture. Check out this transmission next to look into the lives of more patrons from the Mos Eisley Cantina.